Lovely viewers, thank you for tuning in again to the channel that brings you every jaw-dropping twist, every emotional moment, and all the behind-the-scenes truth from the dazzling world of your favorite Korean stars. What you're about to hear is not a fairy tale. It's not just another celebrity rumor. This is a deeply emotional, very real, and truly shocking turn of events that has sent shockwaves through fans all over the world. Lee Min-ho and Hye Kyo, two of the biggest stars not just in Korea but internationally, have captured our hearts with their love story. But now, it seems that love may be on the verge of collapse. That's right, lovely viewers. There is divorce drama brewing. And the heart of the storm, Hye Kyo's mother. Yes, it appears that the beloved couple's fairy tale has hit a wall. And it's not because of cheating or scandal. It's because of something far more personal, far more painful, and perhaps even irreversible. Let's talk about how Lee Min-ho walked out, how the tension built up, and why this may be the most heartbreaking celebrity split we've seen in years. It all started with what was supposed to be a regular family dinner. Friends say Lee Min-ho had always made a sincere effort to be close to Hye Kyo's mother. He saw her not just as an in-law, but as someone whose approval was vital to the strength of their marriage. But lately something had shifted. According to a close source, Hye Kyo's mother began taking a more active role in their personal life, offering advice that quickly turned into criticism, and making subtle but sharp remarks about Lee Min-ho's career, his financial priorities, and even the way he speaks to her daughter. What might have been harmless in another context began to feel like a constant audit of his love, his commitment, and his place in their family. At first, Lee Min-ho kept it all in. He smiled politely. He nodded. He listened. But deep down those words cut like knives. Every little comment began to build resentment. Hye Kyo, caught in the middle, tried to play the peacemaker. She begged both sides to stay calm, to be patient, to think about the love that brought them together. But the cracks were already forming. And what started as minor tension turned into cold silences and late-night arguments behind closed doors. According to insiders, the final blow came during a recent family meeting that was meant to be about planning their future. Instead, it turned into a verbal battlefield. Hye Kyo's mother allegedly accused Lee Min-ho of being emotionally distant, saying that a man who doesn't understand a mother's pain will never understand a wife's. That comment, sources say, was the trigger. Lee Min-ho stood up, looked at Hye Kyo with tears in his eyes, and walked out of the house. He didn't slam the door. He didn't yell. But his silence said everything. That was the last time he stayed under the same roof as her. Since then, speculation has run wild. Fans have noticed that the two haven't been seen together in public in over 3 weeks. Their Instagram posts, once full of subtle clues and couple-like synergy, have gone eerily quiet. Hye Kyo posted a cryptic message that read, "Even flowers can wither in sunlight that burns too hot." And Lee Min-ho posted a black and white photo of himself staring out a window, with the caption, "Some journeys are meant to be walked alone." Neither of them mentioned each other. But fans instantly felt the chill. People close to them say that Lee Min-ho is currently staying in a private villa in Jeju, trying to sort out his emotions and figure out whether there is anything left to save. A source who saw him there said, "He looked heartbroken. Not angry, just hurt. Like he gave everything and still wasn't enough." Meanwhile, Hye Kyo has been spotted attending emotional wellness retreats, seeking therapy, and spending more time with her mother. Perhaps for comfort, or perhaps trying to understand how things fell apart so quickly. Lovely viewers, imagine being in the middle of such a storm. You love someone deeply, but the person you trust most, your mother, keeps planting doubts. You try to hold it all together, but at some point something gives. For Hye Kyo, that moment may have already come and gone. Because now, what was once unbreakable feels fragile. And the most painful part, neither side wants to talk about it publicly. They've both gone quiet, leaving fans to read between the lines and piece together their broken love story. One friend of the couple said something that truly hit home. They love each other. That's not the problem. But sometimes love isn't loud enough to drown out the opinions of others. That one sentence perfectly sums up the tragedy of what's unfolding. Lee Min-ho didn't walk out because he stopped loving her. He walked out because he didn't feel like he belonged anymore. And that, lovely viewer, is the deepest heartbreak of all. Not being hated, but being made to feel invisible. Rumors now suggest that both have consulted legal teams, not because they're rushing toward divorce, but because they're exploring what a potential separation might look like. There's even talk of a prenuptial clause being reviewed. Fans who were once begging for wedding footage are now clinging to any hope that the couple might work it out. But the silence is deafening. Interestingly, despite the tension, sources say there has been no betrayal, no infidelity, no lies, just the slow erosion of trust and comfort due to one too many voices in their marriage. And now, both are left wondering whether silence can heal what words have broken. Can distance bring clarity? Can love grow again in the shadow of hurt? There's also a painful twist. Insiders close to Song Hye Kyo suggest she's torn. Deeply torn. On one hand, she feels loyalty to her mother, who raised her, stood by her through everything, and always wanted the best for her. But on the other, she's beginning to realize that maybe her mother's idea of love and protection has unknowingly pushed away the very man she believed was her forever. It's a lesson many people learn too late, that sometimes protection can feel like suffocation, and love can be misdirected into control. As for Lee Min-ho, those who know him say he's changed. This breakup, or separation, or whatever stage they're in, is affecting him more than any previous relationship ever has. He's been pulling away from friends, missing scheduled appearances, and even turning down lucrative endorsement deals. He's not angry, he's grieving, because for him this was real. This wasn't publicity. This wasn't a fling. He saw a future. He saw a home. And now, all he sees is a memory. But lovely viewers, all hope is not lost. Some friends close to the couple say that there are still late-night texts. Still questions like, "Are you okay? And do you miss me?" It's not over. Not completely. But it's fragile. One wrong move, one more harsh word, and it could crumble for good. Fans are divided. Some are siding with Lee Min-ho, saying no man deserves to be judged so harshly by his in-laws. Others defend Song Hye Kyo, pointing out that a mother's love is powerful, and perhaps she was just protecting her daughter from something she saw before anyone else. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. Because in love, there are no clear villains. Just two people trying their best to stay afloat in a storm neither of them wanted. As we await any statement or confirmation, let's remember this. Behind the fame, the glamour, the paparazzi shots, and the designer clothes are two deeply human hearts breaking quietly. Whether they choose to find their way back or gently part ways, one thing is for sure, this love story has changed them forever. And for many of us watching, it's a painful reminder of how delicate love can be when it's not protected by both partners together. Lee Min-ho may have walked out, but maybe, just maybe, he's still waiting for a door to open. Maybe Song Hye Kyo is standing behind that door right now, hand on the knob, wondering if it's too late to say, "Come home." We can't know for sure what will happen next. But we can hope. Hope that love will win. Hope that both of them find peace, whether it's together or apart. And hope that the next chapter of their story, however it's written, will be filled with healing, understanding, and maybe even forgiveness. The morning after Lee Min-ho walked out, Song Hye Kyo stood alone in the silence of their home, staring at the half-full coffee mug he left on the counter. It was still warm, just like the space in her heart where his presence once lived. That morning she didn't cry. Not yet. Because the shock was louder than the grief. She kept replaying the moment over and over again in her mind. Her mother's voice, sharp and commanding, cutting through the quiet. Lee's eyes lowering, then rising, trying to hold back the storm behind them. And then that stillness before he stood up. He didn't even take his jacket. He just left. Lovely viewers, imagine the weight of that silence. Imagine the echo of his footsteps being the last sound in a room once filled with laughter. Song Hye Kyo didn't know whether to chase after him or collapse to the ground. So she did neither. She simply stood there, watching the steam fade from the mug. She thought to herself, is this how love ends? Not with screaming, not with betrayal, but with a door closing that may never open again. Her mother, who had always been her shield, didn't realize the damage her words had done, at least not immediately. She had always believed she was doing what was best, protecting her daughter from pain, guiding her like she always had. But perhaps, without realizing it, she had crossed a line. She hadn't seen Lee Min-ho as a partner. She saw him as a threat to her role in her daughter's life. And that, dear viewers, is a tension many families face, especially when strong women raise strong daughters who fall in love with equally strong men. Over the next few days, Song Hye Kyo withdrew. She canceled meetings, turned off her phone, cried in the middle of the night when no one could hear. And in that darkness, She started to ask herself the questions so many people in love ask when everything begins to fall apart. Did I fight hard enough? Did I protect us the way I should have? Am I watching the love of my life walk away because I didn't speak soon enough? Meanwhile, Lee Min-ho was hundreds of kilometers away, physically distant but emotionally tethered. Every memory haunted him. The mornings when she'd wake up and whisper his name, the way she smiled with her eyes when she was proud of him, the secret jokes they shared under red carpet smiles. But those memories were now tangled with the pain of feeling like a stranger in a house that was meant to be his home. Friends who visited him in Jeju said he was quieter than usual, more introspective. One of them revealed that Lee had started keeping a journal, something he hadn't done since his rookie days as an actor. In it, he wrote not about his career but about love. About her. About how it feels to love someone with your whole being and still feel like it wasn't enough to be accepted. In one entry he wrote, "I never wanted to be her world. I only wanted to be welcome in it." That line has stayed with us, hasn't it? Because so many relationships suffer not from a lack of love, but from a lack of space. Space to grow, space to be vulnerable, space to be enough. And so, the days turned into weeks. No public statements. No dramatic reconciliations. Just two hearts grieving quietly, wondering if the bridge between them could ever be rebuilt. Lovely viewer, this is where things take a turn. Not in the headlines but in the heart. A mutual friend, someone very close to both stars, decided to intervene. Not with drama, not with gossip, but with a simple gesture. They invited both Lee Min-ho and Hye Kyo, separately, to a quiet dinner in Seoul. They didn't tell either that the other would be there. They simply asked them to show up and promised that no one else would be there. And they both came. It wasn't dramatic. There were no screams. No running into each other's arms. It was awkward at first. Hye Kyo walked in, saw him sitting there and froze. Lee Min-ho looked up from his plate, surprised, and for a second neither moved. Then, without a word, she sat down across from him. For the first 5 minutes they didn't speak. They just looked at each other, taking in the weight of what had happened, taking in the space between them. And then finally she whispered, "Did you mean to leave me for good?" He didn't answer right away. He placed his chopsticks down, looked into her eyes and said, "I left because I didn't feel like I belonged in your world anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. He continued, "I loved you. I still do. But I need to feel like your love is louder than the noise around us. I need to know I matter to you more than your mother's expectations." She reached across the table. Her hand trembled. And when she finally touched his, she said, "You've always mattered. I just didn't know how to choose between the man I love and the woman who raised me." That sentence, dear viewers, changed everything. Because it wasn't an apology. It wasn't a justification. It was the truth. And truth, no matter how painful, is the first step toward healing. They talked for hours that night. Cried. Laughed through the tears. Remembered the good. Acknowledged the bad. And for the first time in weeks, they left the table holding hands. Not as a couple fully healed, but as two people willing to try again. The next day they met Hye Kyo's mother together. It wasn't easy. There were tears, harsh words, long silences. But eventually something shifted. Her mother, seeing them united, hands clasped, eyes filled with something deeper than passion, realized she had gone too far. Maybe it wasn't her place to decide what kind of love her daughter needed. Maybe she had confused protection with control. In a quiet voice she said, "I only wanted you to be safe. I didn't realize you already were." That was the beginning of a new chapter. Not a perfect one, but a real one. Since then, Lee Min-ho has moved back into their home, not with grand gestures or fanfare, but quietly. A toothbrush next to hers again. His jacket on the coat rack. A soft harmony of two lives slowly blending again. And lovely viewers, here's what makes their story even more powerful. They didn't deny the hurt. They didn't pretend everything was okay. They acknowledged the wounds and chose to heal anyway. That is the kind of love that lasts. Not flawless, but fearless. They've begun attending couples therapy, not because they're broken, but because they believe love is worth fighting for. They're setting new boundaries, including limits on how much outside family can influence their decisions. And for the first time in months, they've posted a shared photo, a quiet sunset taken from their living room window. No captions, just the view. But fans noticed something in the reflection on the glass. The two of them side by side, watching the light fade into dusk. So what's next for this couple? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear. Love, when nurtured and protected, can survive even the deepest wounds. Lee Min-ho and Hye Kyo may not be perfect, but they are learning how to love in real life, not just in fairy tales. They are showing us that forgiveness is possible, that sometimes you have to walk away to know how much you want to stay. And that even when mothers intervene, even when hearts break, there can still be healing. And isn't that what real love is all about? So, lovely viewer, if you're watching this and your own heart feels heavy, know this. Storms don't always mean endings. Sometimes they clear the path for a stronger foundation. If you're in a relationship struggling with outside pressure, take this story as your reminder to protect what you've built. Speak up, choose each other, and never let fear decide your future. As always, thank you for staying with us. Your love for these stories keeps this channel alive, and we promise to bring you every update, every emotional twist, and every heartfelt reunion as it unfolds.